After taking her earring out, she noticed there was something coming out of where the piercing was. Oh, out of the little hole. Okay. What's up, Rat Fam? I recently got a notification from YouTube saying that I posted this video up on the screen right now 4 years ago, and my mind was blown that it has been 4 years since that video, because I remember that video clearly. I remember tacking up a red disposable tablecloth that I think I got for like 99 cents at the dollar store, and then I upped the saturation in that video to hide the creases in it. Fun times. But since getting that notification, I've just been reminded about how much I love exploring urban legends, and specifically, I love Japanese urban legends. There's something about them. They're so creepy. I love the themes of them. I'm like so excited. I'm feeling like nostalgic today. I just love urban legends. I don't know why. It's been a good minute since we've done them on this channel. They're my favorite. Are they your favorite too? Let me know down in the comments which country we should cover next. Maybe it's a country we haven't done before, or even if it is a country, we can always go revisit, like today. We've covered Japanese urban legends a couple times already on this channel throughout the years since that video, but apparently there are plenty more. So let's get to exploring some creepy stories. So let's get to it. Now this first one we're covering today is called Gaozu or Gozu. I'm not 100% sure on the pronunciation of it, but it translates to cow head or ox head in English. So let that name paint a picture for you in your brain. It's a weird one. So what's so fascinating about this urban legend is that it's an urban legend of an urban legend. Let that sink in for a second. That is like Inception style urban legend. So this urban legend is about this other story that's said to be spread around, but it's so scary and so terrifying and so cursed. So all the makings for one heck of a story that is piquing my interest, and I really want to find the original. But if you want to find the original, that's where you're gonna find some issues. Apparently this urban legend is cursed in a way that if you remember it all and talk about it and say it as is, well, there you go, you're now cursed and bad things are going to happen to you. More specifically, you're gonna meet your end. So that has prompted people apparently not to spread the whole story and more so focusing on it from a distance. So you can understand how through the years people have kind of forgot the original story. And that has actually made some people question if there even is an original story at all. Anyways, now that I've explained it a little bit, let's jump into a version of it about it that is very popular. So whenever you type in cowhead, this is the one that you might find. There are other variations on the internet, as with most urban legends, but this is a very common one told under this name. A group of students is taken out for a field trip by a teacher. On the bus, he decides to tell a scary story and picks cowhead. As he begins, the students, one by one, notice that the teacher becomes more intense and involved in the story as he's telling it. Soon, the students are screaming for him to stop, but he can't. He is completely obsessed with telling the story exactly word for word how it is. The original, the cursed one. A few hours later, police find the bus in a ditch, all the passengers foaming at the mouth, seemingly in a trance-like state. Thankfully, the police are able to shake the children awake, and when asked what had happened, no one could remember how they ended up there in the ditch or foaming from the mouth, including the telling of the cowhead story. Now this is when you know it's completely an urban legend story, no grain of truth to it at all, because if they couldn't remember anything, how do they remember, or how do they know that it was the cowhead story that was being told on the bus? I believe in another version, it says that when they're found and the kids are woken up from their trance-like state, the teacher is dead after telling the story and living up to the curse of him dying. But then when they're trying to understand how he died and how the bus ended up in a ditch and all of that, no one could remember anything. So I think that version of it makes a little more sense and is in line with the cursed element of the story. But apparently even listening to this original story is enough to cause you harm. So what would have happened if no one found those kids? Would they have awoken eventually on their own, or would they have met a terrible fate? I don't know, but it's certainly creepy. Now this next urban legend is called Room 108, and for some reason, like, I'm drawn to ones about like haunted, cursed, creepy schools. I don't know. Why is that? I just feel like schools can be inherently like creepy. Something about like long, dark corridors, or like being there after hours when like no one's there. It's just like a little unnerving. I never liked that. I always had like a fear that I was gonna get like locked into the school and like have to stay there overnight. which isn't that big of a deal if you think about it because it's just a building, but it always scared me a little bit. But anyway, back to the urban legend. Now this urban legend ties in a similar fashion, I suppose, as the cowhead one, meaning bad things will happen to you if you recall the original one. I guess that is the theme of these urban legends I picked out that I just now realized at this very moment. But for this one, you can actually read it without the consequences, but what's the tricky part is, and where the curse comes in, is if you happen to remember the story past a week. I don't know how the heck you're gonna make yourself forget. Do you knock your head on the wall? I don't know how you're supposed to forget a story within a week. But apparently, if you do remember this story past a week's time, what happened in the story will end up happening in your real life. And let me just tell you right now, the story's not great, so you don't want this happening to you. But I'm gonna read it anyways, so let's hope we don't remember this past a week. Before we get cursed, I think this is a good time to ask you to please like this video if you're enjoying it and want to see more urban legends in the future, just in case we get cursed in a week's time. We'll get, I can maybe squeeze a few more urban legend videos in there before then. That was cheesy, I'm sorry. One night, a boy had a dream about a school. It was a school he didn't recognize. And as he wandered the halls, he became increasingly unsettled. I mean, roaming a strange school, that would be very unsettling. The hallway he walked down was a continuous loop, always bringing him back to where he had started. He climbed stairs only to find himself back on the first floor. The school was a maze he could not figure out. And as he started to become scared, he heard the sound of footsteps behind him. Oh no, that is like a scary video game. I don't like that one bit. The sound was faint and far away, but instinctively he ran. Those are good instincts. The footsteps got closer and closer. He found an emergency exit with a glass lock box and held the key right next to it, but the glass had already been smashed. Oh, that's not a good sign, bud. The key was missing. In its place, there was a note that said the key was in room 108. I'm just gonna say it now, I would not go into room 108. I feel like whoever left that probably doesn't have good intentions. The boy ran off in search of room 108, literally the opposite of what I said to do. And when he found it, he shut the door behind him. There were no students, but there were backpacks hanging off every single chair. Oh no, this is a haunted school, y'all. He searched them all frantically, turning out the drawers of the teacher's desk, but it was of no use. The footsteps caught up with him. Now someone was pounding on the door. And as the boy cowered in fear, the pounding just stopped. The boy opened the door to the hallway like an idiot, but quickly wished he hadn't. The corridor was littered, with dead children, their limbs scattered from end to end. Well, that took a darker turn than I thought it would. He never woke up from this dream, and if you don't forget the story in 1 week, you'll have the same dream and be resigned to the same fate. Well, that's just unfair, because now that we know the story and we know that there's a week limit to it, like The Ring, now we're all gonna have a simultaneous nightmare within a week's time, aren't we? Ones that have this time frame, these callbacks to them, I find really fun because, like I just said, you're now more inclined to remember this because it says do not remember this. And I think that's where the spooky factor really gets amplified, because if it's just a one-off spooky story, while still entertaining at the moment, you'll probably forget about it for the most part, but this one might be lingering around in your mind for the next week or so. I don't believe in curses, do you? I hope not. Now this urban legend is called the white string, and y'all, if you are a little queasy of the stomach, you're eating right now, I would highly recommend maybe stopping. Just for right now. Not to leave this video though. I'll give you a second, finish that last bite that you have in your mouth, and if you're not feeling too great, listen to it anyways because it's a really interesting story. Maybe you won't actually find this one stomach churning, but for some reason when I was reading it, the ending really got me. It just made me feel a little I could feel this person's pain is what I'm saying. Now this isn't a very gory story. It's not violent or anything, so you don't have to worry about that. But it's very interesting and very creepy and will make you do that, I think. In 1980 in Japan, many Japanese children were scared to get their ears pierced after hearing this disturbing urban legend. It is said that once in Japan, there was a girl who wanted her ears pierced so much that she begged her parents to let her get them done. Every day she would ask and protest that every other girl in her class had gotten their ears pierced already and that she was the only one. So, she felt out of the loop, she was behind the trend, telling her parents, literally, I think we've all pulled that card before, everyone else is doing it. So of course her parents one day finally caved in and gave her the money to get her ears pierced. But this girl had a few tricks up her sleeve. Instead of taking that money, like she said, and getting her ears pierced at like an appropriate location, like a kiosk in the mall or something, nah, she decided to pocket that money, instead have her friend pierce her ears for her. Now, this was a very foolish decision. The next day in class, her ears started itching and twitching. That's not good. So she asked to excuse herself and go to the washroom to see what the heck was going on. After taking her earring out, she noticed there was something coming out of where the piercing was. Oh, out of the little hole. Okay. It looked like the tip of a white string. Like any normal person, she started to tug and pull at the white string. She pulled and pulled and pulled at it until she couldn't stand pulling anymore, and then just cut the string off. At that same moment, everything went black for the unfortunate victim, and she was rushed to the hospital immediately. The doctor looked stunned, and in a shaky voice he said, "That wasn't a white string. That was your optic nerve." And the girl couldn't see for the rest of her life. I have 14 ear piercings, though I don't wear any of them anymore, and just like this story is just making me look at the little piercing hole scars and be like, gross. Now, this being said, it is just a spooky story meant to gross you out. Now, it's pretty clear to me how this urban legend originated. It said in the 1980s this was so popular that it actually caused like kind of hysteria amongst school children wanting to get their ears pierced. So it seemed like the intention of this story was probably one of two things. One, it might have been capitalizing off of a trend, so knowing that a lot of kids were getting their ears pierced at the time, maybe someone thought of a crazy story. I actually remember hearing something similar, not of like a scary story format, but I remember hearing when I was in high school getting my ears pierced that if you got this part, your tragus, I think, pierced wrong, it could paralyze like half your face. Now, that was something that was pretty prevalent, and I think it's because that piercing became so popular. So that's one reason why the story may have originated. And two, it may have been started because people didn't want children to get their ears pierced. Maybe they thought kids were too young, maybe they were tired of kids asking, so they wanted to come up with a story that would scare them to stop asking. At the end of the day, it is just a spooky story that really just like, something about that like, Well, these were fun urban legends to talk about. Now in a week's time, we're going to be having crazy dreams of being trapped in a maze from hell and pulling strings out of our ears and then being cursed. Fun! But that does it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did and want to see more from me, please turn on my channel notifications so that you are notified when my new videos go up during the week. And if you haven't yet seen it, up on the screen right now is my previous video where we explore another terrifying Ask Reddit thread where people share stories of finding places, creepy places, that shouldn't exist and that don't exist. So that was a fun one. And until next time, keep with radness, and I hope to see you real soon. Bye! Okay, something about that story really grossed me out.